Hey, welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Precon. This is Steve, and hey, you've made it. You bought your first expansion core box, the first campaign expansion, which is awesome sauce, which is called The Rise of Hydra. And in this one, it came with two fantastic heroes. We're going to talk about one of them at a time. So we're going to start off with Mr. Clint Barton himself, the Hawkeye. So before we go any further, if you like these videos, please give it a like. Comments are always welcome, and let's move on. All right, so Clint Barton is a shield agent. So he's a shield traded. He has 3 recovery, a hand size of 6, and 9 hit points. So he's pretty low on the hit points, but let's see. He's got weapon of choice. We have an action that we can spend 1 resource of any type and search our deck and discard pile for Hawkeye's bow, and then add that to our hand. All right, that's interesting. So at least the archer never leaves home without his trusty bow. And in hero form, he's got 1 thwart, 2 attack, 1 defense. Ouch. He's got a hand size of 5 and hit points 9, and quick draw action exhaust Hawkeye to ready his bow. Okay. So that's pretty interesting. So the way the mechanics are made, it's really not really meant to you want to play around with the bow, and then you can just exhaust your character to use another arrow. I think that's always interesting. It's fun to see that he can shoot 2 arrows in a turn if he wants to. So that I thought was very, very clever. Let's take a look at some of his signature cards that are very important. First of all, his bow. Hawkeye's bow is a 0-cost upgrade, and it's a restricted item. So that's pretty... You got to be careful on that if you're playing. I think right now in Aggression has the only other restricted item, but that's only if you bought the Thor pack. But if you're just playing with that, you should be fine. And it says your hero gets +1 attack, and each of your arrow gains ranged. So that means they ignore retaliate, which is makes sense. You're shooting arrows. All right, so then you go, okay, so that's it. It's just an upgrade that does nothing. All right, cool. All right, let's see why then. All right, we'll talk about that. Why? Because it combos with some of his arrows. But yeah, you want to have that Hawkeye's bow on the table. Then we got the most important part of his kit, which is the Quiver. And then you can play arrow events attached to discard as if they were in your hand, and exhaust the Quiver to search the top 5 cards of your deck for an arrow card, and then you shuffle up your deck. So they forgot to write that, so that was one of the first erratas, is you can look at the top 5 cards, but if you get an arrow, or even if you don't get an arrow, you still have to shuffle everything back into your deck. So that's pretty interesting too. It's a hero action. So kind of one of the tricks you want to do with Hawkeye is kind of try to pile up some arrows and save them for like the right time. So he's kind of like an opportunist, he wants to get the right arrow at the right time and then take advantage of the situation. All right, so that being said, then he's got some expert marksman. So that's resource generation, which is awesome sauce. And it says he's got 2 of those. So expert marksman generate a wild resource for an arrow event. So these are kind of they're just good for the arrows. So that's pretty fun. So you can, use these to pay for your arrow events, and then you can use your other cards, to do other stuff. So that's always fun. So these are priority to put down really, really fast. And then we have one of the coolest allies in the game. We have the Mockingbird. So one quick rule card, just remember, if you are playing with Hawkeye, you cannot include the 3-cost Mockingbird ally in basics in your deck because they have the same name. All right, that being said, 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, both with 1 consequence damage. She's an Avengers shield with 3 points, and says, when the villain initiates an attack against you, spend 1 resource of any type and then return Mockingbird to your hand. Prevent all damage from that attack. So one thing that's really cool is like, okay, the villain wants to attack you. You're like, yeah, I'm pretty low on health. I'm going to discard a card and then bounce this back to my hand. Now, if the attack is undefended, so this means you're going to prevent all the damage, but the attack is not defended. So that's very important, because there might be some things that if you're playing against the Rise of Red Skull, it says if this is an undefended attack, something bad happens. So that you got to be careful, because this will not count as defending. So that is for her, like his little setup stuff. And then he's got a slew of arrows. He's got 2 cable arrows, which is exhaust Hawkeye's bow. And this is what's going to be thematic for all of these. So this is what's important. That's why the bow is so important. So exhaust the bow, and to remove 3 threat from a scheme, ignoring the crisis icon. So ignoring crisis is huge. All right. And then again, you always need that bow. And that's why if the bow is exhausted, or if you don't have your bow, you can't shoot your arrows. Makes sense, right? So that's why you can, shoot an arrow, poof, go back. And then we have his explosive arrow. So that's 3 damage on the villain, and you choose a player. So if you're playing in multiplayer and somebody has like 3-4 minions in front of him, and you can just be like, all right, wait, I got your back, bro. I'm gonna deal 3 damage to the villain, and then each minion engage with that player. So, and the art's pretty fantastic on this one there. So this very, very strong card. Then we have his status effect arrows. So he's got 2 sonic arrows, which says hero action, exhaust the bow and confuse an enemy, deal 3 damage to it, 5 damage instead if the villain's already confused. Now, one thing that's really cool about this is with Hawkeye, you'll probably want to flip down to Alter Ego because of his 9 hit points. He's a little weak, so he might just be able to take 1 or 2 punches from the boss, and then you're gonna have to go down to recover. So getting those sonic arrows and getting them through to confuse the villain is super important. All right, boof. So the sonic arrows, and then you have the electric arrows. Now these electric arrows, again, same thing. It's an attack. Exhaust the bow, stun an enemy, and deal 3 damage to it. 5 if it's already stunned. So again, you don't want to double up on those. You want to use it one time, stun him, save yourself from an attack, and then be good and gone with it. So that's what you kind of want to do. And then finally, this is his kill arrow, what I like to call the kill arrow. It is the Vibranium Arrow. So attack, deal, exhaust the bow, and deal 6 damage to an enemy. And that one gains ranged and piercing. So super, super solid. So he's got 10 arrows. Now, if you want to do something fun, there is a way, and I've done it before, where you can actually shoot all 10 arrows in one turn. It's a little complex to do, but if you want to go check out the achievement playlist, you can watch, I call it Hawkeye's Arrow Storm, and I'm shooting all 10 arrows in a turn, which is super, super fun, and it was cool to do. All right, so there you go. So that's enough for his kit. So again, Hawkeye, you have to be smart when you play Hawkeye, or else you might just get overrun with the villain. So you never want to defend with him. His one defense is inconsequential, unless you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna die if I don't defend, or I'm gambling and I need to defend. Then you're like, okay, I'll defend. But normally you just want to, you're gonna take the hits, and you're trying to take as least amount of damage possible. But that's why Mockingbird is so good, when you can just keep bringing her back to your hand. She's good. So for 3, you bring her back. She's kind of like Lockjaw for Hawkeye, where you play her for 3 and then you bounce her back. You play her for 3, you bounce her back. And then there's ways in his kit to make her cheaper, which helps a lot. All right, so let's go see the cards that he comes with in his pre-con deck. All right, his hero pack is comprised of a bunch of new allies, which is pretty cool. We get Hawkeye, which is Kate Bishop, which is now the new rule that, you can have 2 Hawkeyes, yes. But again, just a rule reminder, Hawkeye Kate Bishop and Hawkeye Clint Barton are not the same. So you can have 2 Hawkeyes on the table. US Agent, Black Knight, and Goliath, which is like the deck's super combo ally. And then War Machine, who comes in with a tough. You got Team Training, which is great because it powers up the ally, useful ally strategy. You got the Sky Cycle that double activates allies, so you can use your allies quicker. You got Ready for Action that gives a tough status card to an ally, which is good because then the ally can soak up some hits. Lead from the front to make your allies more powerful. Powers of Leadership. You get the 3 double resources, and then you get the Avengers Tower. So if you didn't buy the Captain America pack, this is a cool way to get it again. So you get the Avengers Tower that increases your max, and then also reduces the cost of the next ally. So it's kind of like Captain America's ability, but only for Avengers. And one of my favorite new cards, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which you exhaust an Avenger to ready an Avenger, which is super, super, super good. So here the deck, how it's supposed to play it out with the precon is pretty simple. you want to go for the combo. The combo is pretty simple. Is you want to activate Goliath. All right. So how it works, the best way to to win the game is you ready for action Goliath. So you make him tough. Then you activate you give him a sky cycle, and then you just go to town. So you give him a tough and then a sky cycle, so he can hit for 5, for 10. Then if you get a couple of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, he can hit for 15, 20 damage as long as you have the team training. So the first one he loses is tough, then he takes 2, then he takes 2. But if he has the team training, he can do it 4 times. And there's 20 damage, poof, from Goliath before he has to get knocked out. So this is a super fun combo. Obviously, there's other things that you can play with this, but again, this is probably the best combo out there, the Mega Goliath. All right, so now let's take a look at how we can upgrade this precon to the next level. All right, so here are some of the little changes I would make to make this the deck just work a little bit better. War Machine I like, but he's just a little too expensive for my taste, so he's the first one I would remove. Then obviously I would get rid of 2 team trainings because you can only have 1 on the table, so that's 3 cards. Then I would get rid of 1 of the sky cycles because I don't think you're gonna be putting 1. I would keep 2 just to make sure that you can kind of combo it off with Goliath. I think it's the best. And then I would remove the 2 lead from the fronts. Now, obviously, the lead from the fronts can be really, really fun here, but it's just, I don't know. If you, it's kind of like a really end game, but you don't really need it. Yes, if you play it, then your Goliath can hit for, let's say, 5 or 6. You can hit for 6, so he can do an extra 4 damage, but there's a lot of setup for that. So I do like it, but I'm good with it. I prefer making sure that if I can use Goliath, I can use him a couple extra times with the get readies. I also want to make sure that I can keep getting him back. So I got 2 make the calls, so I can just kind of cycle that as much as I can. I also put in the Triskelion just to be able to have another ally on the table, and it doesn't have to be an Avenger. So I can always have at least 4, and if they're all Avengers. And since I did take out an ally, I did put in the Maria Hill. Now, one of the cool combos I think a lot of folks do tend to forget is the Mockingbird combo here. The Mockingbird with the ready for action. So what you do is you put a tough status card on Mockingbird. Mockingbird blocks for you, loses her tough. And then if the villain attacks you again, poof, you can bounce Mockingbird back to your hand. I kind of like that combo. It's really fun. Or you can use it with any other of the allies. The combo with US Agent is very good as well because he has Retaliate, so he's actually pinging stuff. And then kind of Mockingbird, so these are the 2 that I would kind of recommend putting it on, just because, well, Mockingbird also can just bounce herself if she'll never die, and you don't want her to die. You just want to keep playing her because she's always going to be a thwart of 2, an attack of 2, and maybe she can do it twice before she just bounces back to your hand. And then with Avengers Mansion, well, she only costs 2 to put down, so it's a good combo. And then again, ready for action with US Agent, the Retaliate is just like, yes, get rid of a tough status card on a minion. So that's kind of like the how I would upgrade the precon, which I really, really enjoy his precon. I thought it was really, really solid. I like the allies do all the work, so super powered ally strategy that's introduced in his hero pack and really takes a lot of the focus. All right, so let's take a look at some of the hero packs that you might want to buy to make the expansion even more fun. And I know I could go into a couple of other decks with Hawkeye, but I think leadership is definitely his thing. Aggression is really good, but then you need the Doctor Strange pack for the skilled strikes. You need a couple of extra packs and to make him like really, really viable in aggression. So for me, I think just leadership is just such a good way to play Hawkeye. There's not a lot of ways that I would play him differently, and that's just using core cards. Obviously, if you're playing with, if you have all the packs, there's all sorts of stuff that we can build, but this is not the point of these videos. It's for the people who have the core and this. All right. After that, there's tons of decks on CDB that you guys can look at. All right, here we go. Let's go look at some of the hero packs that you can do if Hawkeye is your main guy. What do you want to buy? All right, guys. There's only 2 hero packs that I would, 2 things I would recommend. The first one the first one is the Spectrum Mad Titan Shadows box. The reason why, it's just Spectrum's kit has some of the most powerful allies and some of the best ally cards in the game that really just suit Hawkeye and so many other characters if you love playing leadership. All right, so first one, it gives the band together that gives us up to 3 resources. If you have 3 allies on the table, it gives us a really cool combo that's really nice with Hawkeye, the mass attack, where you exhaust 3 allies you control that share a trait. So because with his bow he can get a 3 attack, so that's 3 for 3 plus whatever the combination of your 3 heroes can do. So you can have a really big turn. We have also Mighty Avengers that gives all of your allies +1 thwart, +1 attack, which is massive. And then we have some of the best allies. We got Blade and Basics for 1. And then we get Kalu, who searches our event, so he can find arrows for us. Then we got White Tiger that draws cards depending on the villain stage. We're not going to talk about Power Man, but we are going to talk about Captain America, who could probably come out for free. So this is definitely the best thing you can buy if you love Hawkeye. This is the ultimate thing to buy, is the Mad Titan Shadow. Not only do you get 5 scenarios, you also get Adam Warlock, but you get some of the best leadership cards in the game. So for Hawkeye. All right, so let's take a look at the honorary mention hero pack. And this is another cool way to play, and it synergizes with traits. So I really like the War Machine pack because it introduced a new way to play with the allies, which was called Kamikaze, which I called Kamikaze allies, and introduced the card Sneak Attack, which can be played in Alter Ego. So what's cool about it is your shield, you can play a shield card. So if you have Nick Fury in your hand, you can spend 1 to play Nick Fury instead of 4, and then draw 3 cards, which is pretty good. But that ally gets discarded at the end of the turn, and then you have benefits on that. So instead of just discarding it, you can make him go down swinging, which is an action to discard him and deal damage to the printed cost. Save the Day, where you can remove threat equal to the printed cost. These are both hero actions. You have the Command Team, which means you can use your allies an extra time before you actually sacrifice them. And then you get some really powerful allies, like Falcon comes into play, removes threat. Black Panther that can come and get one of those go down swingings, and then he can thwart for 2 and then deal 4 damage. Super nice. You got Captain Marvel that can come in for free if you're a hero, and then just if you have lightning cards in lightning resources, if you discard 2 of them, 3 damage and a stun, so it's super solid. And then you get a Quinn Carrier too. So again, some really good value with the War Machine hero pack for Hawkeye. So guys, Hawkeye is super fun. Again, he's more of a combo-y player. He's not the easiest guy to play out of the gate. You really got to focus on, all right, what am I going to do with my arrow? What am I going to do with this? Am I attacking? The best strategy to play Hawkeye beyond the precon is, again, or if you just want to use what you have, Hawkeye is a guy. I recommend watching a bunch of Kennedy Hawk videos. He's really got Hawkeye down pat on the Marvel Champions Monthly. Or you can watch some of my videos where he just, like I said, you can rock him in pretty much every aspect. But yeah, Hawkeye, super fun character to play. I really enjoy Hawkeye. Like once in a while, I'm like, yeah, man, you know, I feel like the Archer needs to come out. And again, he's not the most powerful hero in the game, but I think it's good. He's a good hero. He's well-rounded, and whatever aspect you choose to play him. I actually like him a lot in protection. A lot of people like him a lot in aggression as well, because he's got the weapon that you can exhaust. Me, I'm not the fan of him in aggression, but that's just me. So again, you'll probably find your niche. Play Hawkeye, try him in different aspects, see what you like, and see what you don't like, and then go from there. So guys, hope this video will help you play the game with Hawkeye and eventually beat the game. All right, ciao, ciao, guys. See you for Spider-Woman.